Okay, chess fans, here are 3 simple strategies to get you up to 1800 chess.com rapid. Strategy number 1, guys, is to create monster pieces. So we are told that bishops and knights are worth 3 pawns. However, in an active position with an active bishop or a knight on an outpost maybe, these things are going to be worth 4, 5, 6 pawns. And we will have ample opportunities to create them, and we have to take it. And so have a look at this recent Lee Chess Rapid game that I played. It's not from chess.com, it doesn't matter. My opponent has played queen to d7, and ask yourself what's the move you would play. There's no trick question here, there's no tactics. The intuitive move is the right move, is of course d5, and you do your tactics puzzles the whole time. Bishop takes b2 is a huge blunder. Just got to point these things out, guys. After d takes c6, the queen is hanging, and we're going to pick up that bishop for free. And so in this position, the knight has just got to move. And my opponent plays this move, knight to e5. And when I was 1400 chess.com, I would liquidate. This knight is annoying. It's threatening to double my pawns, and I would just lazily play moves like knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, d takes e5. This game's going nowhere. It's a bit like your date last Friday night. And you know how to spice up a date, guys. You gotta play knight e4, right? Because you created this outpost here on e6. Your opponent doesn't have 2 knights. They don't have a light square bishop. And if I'm defending, after knight to d4, I would already, with the black pieces, be thinking about sacking one of my rooks to get rid of that knight on e6. It's just too big. The engine wants you to perform some kind of procedure where you play knight g6, move the rook, maybe move the knight to f8, and then get rid of it. But it's hard to defend, guys. We have here bishop to e7, no idea what that is. Knight to e6, rook f7, rook on f to e1, knight to g6, g3. Crap move for me, okay? I'm not a top player, I'm intermediate. I'm going to throw in a whole bunch of rubbish moves. We have here bishop to f6. And now calculate. One thing I learned is to evaluate captures. Queen takes f5 looks dangerous, but let's look down the branch. Okay, there's a discovered attack, but what's going to happen? Queen takes f5, bishop takes b2. Queen takes g6, bishop takes a3. Material is equal. However, our queen is in a very advanced position, breathing down the opposition king. And that's indeed what happens. We have this, material is equal, but if you look at it on the engine, it's +2. And if you want to look at it crudely, it's probably because this knight is not really worth 3 pawns. It's worth maybe 5 pawns. My opponent goes, I go for rook to e4, okay? Rook lift, going to g4, and let's pile on the pressure. We have here bishop to b2, rook g4, bishop f6. They've already blundered a pawn. Queen takes h6, you've got to be careful. There's a pin here. Nothing can attack your rook, because if something attacks your rook, your queen's dead. Okay, it's completely safe. We have a5, no time for queenside games from my opponent. Queen to g6, keeping it safe. a4, b takes a4, rook takes a4, h4, not a great move, but felt intuitive. Queen to e8, and my opponent's idea is very simple. They want a queen exchange. They want to move their rook, but it doesn't work. Because if they played something like rook to f8, we have knight takes f8, and if they decide to take the queen, well, then we would take the queen, and so we just got a free rook. And if they go here, which is what they did after h5, rook e7, going for the queen exchange, well, now you hung your bishop. Queen takes f6, rook f7, simple mate in 2 now. Rook takes g7, rook takes g7. My opponent is just saying, bravo, well done. Queen takes g7 is, of course, checkmate, and that's thanks to this monster knight. Okay, strategy number 2 is to create isolated pawns, guys. And so every game that we play, as we get better at chess, we can't just hope that our opponent is just going to hang some piece on move 10. Sometimes we are just going to have to grind it out. And have a look at this chess.com rapid game I played. And my opponent with the black pieces plays knight takes c3. And now tell me what move you would play. Would you play bishop takes c3, d takes c3, or queen takes c3? Don't say queen takes e3. Remember, guys, tactics whole time. Terrible move. e4. Time to hit that resign button. This bishop's got to go, right? And so, what are you going to play? This one or that one? And it's a bit of a trick question. I played none of them. I actually, in this position, play bishop takes c6. A bit interesting, isn't it? And I've given up the bishop pair. Pretty big thing to do. It's a rapid game. Got to use my intuition here a bit. But after b takes c6, we've got to check that this knight can't do any trickery. But after b takes c6, we have completely smashed our opponent's pawn structure. And that actually turns out to be a top engine move. Now, I don't care whether the engine says that this is 0 evaluation. It's very hard to defend if you liquidate in this position. Very hard for black to defend. And sometimes you just got to take your chances in endgames where your opponent has their back to the wall like this. And so in this position, we have queen takes c3, and that's a very sneaky move. Now I am hoping that they're going to play e4 because I want to get pieces off the board and play some rook endgame. That's what I want here. We have here e4. They take the bait. Queen c2, bishop takes b2, queen takes c2. We have here queen to d3. Queen c3 going for the queen exchange. Definitely want queens off the board. Rook on a to d8. Queen takes d3, rook takes d8. b4. The b pawn was hanging. And in this position, rook on f to d8. And I have no idea why I never played rook on a2. Again, 1800. I'm not that good at chess. Just throwing crap moves like this. Castles. What is that? What is that? But I'm kind of glad I did that because it shows you how hard it is to defend a material advantage when your pawn structure is been smashed, where you have isolated pawns, double isolated pawns. And so my opponent goes for rook takes d2, dead zero according to the engine. We go rook on f to c1, and we've got to be careful that they cannot establish rooks on the second round. They can't because we can always go for a rook exchange. And so in this position, my opponent doesn't even bother trying to protect the material because they know that if they try to protect, we're just going to pile up, maybe c5 and bring the other rook across. And so they just go to remove back rank issues, h6, okay, prophylactics here. We have here rook takes c6, rook d1, check, definitely shouldn't be doing that. Rook takes d1, rook takes d1, king shuffles up. And have a look at this position. Okay, we have two connected pawns, two isolated pawns. Surely, 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 guys, we can create a passed pawn out of this. You go take your chances sometimes in endgames. The most my opponent can really hope for from this game is a draw, unless there's some horrible blunder. And so we'll just fast forward a whole bunch of moves, and we do indeed get our passed pawn. Okay, so rook pawn. And we keep pushing that bad boy up the board. We get to a7, and look, 1800s, 1700s. There's not much difference between us and, say, 1400s on chess.com. We will throw in rubbish moves like this. King g6. Okay, always check for checks. Rook g8 check. The king goes to attack the rook. Doesn't matter. We're going to create queen. And the game is over. My opponent's hoping that my internet connection is going to go. But in the UK, thankfully, broadband is pretty good. Okay, strategy number 3 is to play really, really tight, guys. No need to take unnecessary risk at the sub 2000 level. I think the whole problem with internet chess boom is that we're watching our favorite title players play chess and we're like, oh, wow, I want to play like that. And so you're watching Tata Steel India and you're watching Nihal Sarin play Odrin Erigasi and the guy just busts out g5 against his opponent in front of his castled king. And you're like, oh, man, OG. That's how I want to play. I want to play like that. So you don't need to, guys. When we are at the fine margins of chess, a great place to be if we ever get there. Okay, I can understand why he's throwing in moves like that. But at our level, we just don't need to. And so have a look at my much more boring game, which is not against Odrin Erigasi. And I've played this move rook on b to e1, and I'm already regretting it because I'm fearing f takes g3 and f takes g3, and then this bishop is activated and queen is activated and the rook is activated, and I'm like, oh my god. And now my opponent plays rook on a to e8. I'm like, great, happy days, now we can play g4. Okay, so I put g4 on the board, just shut down the position. You're like, light squares, you showing this? Sub 2000 chess, play tight, not unnecessary risk, something is going to happen. It always does. We at this level cannot go on and on and on without making critical mistakes. My opponent has to be careful. Their bishop could get trapped here. They play g5. And now I could open up the position, right? I could take, maybe try to shuffle my king about, maybe move this rook across, try some stuff. But I'm already committed to getting a draw and getting a cup of coffee. Yeah, forget about this game. Live to fight another day. We have in this position h5. And now we have bishop g7, bishop b4. h6, f3, completely shut down the position. And I really thought in this position, I must be much better because their dark squared bishop is behind the pawn chain. And my light squared bishop is in front of the pawn chain. So this must be better for white. And then indeed it does. It is, excuse me. And so we have here rook to e7. And now you can play games here. You can try stuff. You can go for b4, guys. You can bust open this queen side, try things. But I kind of committed in my mind to seeing this game off. Okay, we have here rook b1, c5, queen b2, a5, queen takes queen, e takes d4. Okay, rook on f to e1, excuse me, as my voice goes. We have king to h8. And now we're just going to start shuffling pieces about. And just notice in this position, I had opportunities to play b4, right? Because after b4, if they take, we have takes, and rook takes b4, and this pawn is hanging, and they can try and defend it, but we can triple up here, get a triple attack going, and it's just going to fall, okay? But showing you the kind of downside of having maybe a defensive mindset is like I kind of committed to a draw here, just shuffling pieces about. Only had 2 minutes on the clock, you still have to play with intuition. And my opponent starts shuffling their pieces, play bishop f6, okay, just move the rook across. All right, and if they offered a draw in this position, I would just accept the draw. It's that simple. And they start shuffling a bit more, and there we go. There we go. And light squares, this happened. Guys, this always happens. This always happens. Be patient. Keep it really, really tight. Something, some way is going to happen. No unnecessary risks. They play this move, king f7, it's all over. Bishop g6, check. And now, what are they going to do? We take the rook. They take the rook. But of course, after rook takes e2, we're just up a piece. It's game over. That's it. Bye.